Okay, so today you're going to be working with Esther, and she's a student in the middle school life skills course. For the first session, we are basically working on receptive and expressive language with her, specifically vocabulary and also some pronouns. You'll see her long-term goals listed at the top of the lesson plan here. So when provided a set of 3 directions during a functional task, Esther will accurately perform the task and provided 1 verbal cue and 4 out of 5 trials across 3 therapy sessions. And also, during a functional activity, Esther will accurately describe the next steps to her peers when provided 1 verbal cue and 2 out of 3 trials across 3 consecutive sessions. So those are just the top long-term goals that we're working towards. But for this lesson specifically, your 2 objectives will be, when given a sentence, providing a direction to select an item. Esther will match the correct picture in 4 out of 5 trials when provided 1 verbal cue. So for this activity, it's going to be a sentence direction given to her, plus pictures of objects that she'll have to identify and do some things with based on the direction to demonstrate her understanding of the vocabulary receptively. So the materials needed would be the picture cards, the sentences, which I've provided a few. You can also make up a few others, how you see fit based on the situation. And then also the semantic feature analysis chart. So that looks like this. So you'll have the item in the center, and you'll work through the different parts of it. So it's location, where you find it, the use, what you use it for, the group of the category or what it is, the properties, so describe it, and the association, what it reminds you of, to then be able to accurately name it. So if Esther's having trouble naming a specific item or performing a particular direction with one of the items, you can work through that chart either with your prompts and cues that you're giving her or by showing her it. And one thing that I would like to share with you is that she is very artistic. She enjoys drawing. So if you were to use that chart, maybe you could even have her draw something and draw in the boxes to figure out what she is trying to name. So for the second objective for the session is going to be, while observing peers, so within the classroom, Esther will produce the appropriate pronoun to fill in a provided sentence to describe what an individual is doing or did in 4 out of 5 trials when provided 1 verbal cue. So for this, you're just going to kind of check out what everyone's doing in the classroom. So an example is that George went to get a tissue. So you could say, all right, let's make a sentence about George. So the first thing would be, what's George doing? And you can kind of prompt her through it. It's not part of the objective, but you can take some informal data on if she's able to identify what he's doing. To also take data on that vocabulary that she's using or understands and can use expressively. So George, what is he doing? Oh, he's getting a pencil. Perfect. So our sentence is, George is getting a pencil. So then we would say, now let's replace George with a pronoun. You will have 2 different pronoun pictures, he and she, and they can be used as visual cues for Esther during the activity. So if she's struggling to think of those pronouns or just doesn't know, you can provide those 2 options as a visual cue. So then you would want her to say, he is getting a pencil. So what will we replace George with? Which pronoun? He. He is getting a pencil. Perfect. So again, you'll provide a pronoun to fill in the blank. You'll provide the sentence with the blank. And you're just observing the peers. So one thing about Esther is that I'd let you know that she enjoys drawing, so you can use that to your advantage. She knows some letters and numbers, so that can be taken into consideration when completing or providing any prompts and cues, if you would like to do like a visual of the letter. And she gets along well socially with peers, so if there's an opportunity for her to interact with a peer during the session, that would be great, especially with the pronoun one. You could kind of use that to your advantage. Again, the areas of need are receptive and expressive vocabulary, as well as verbal comprehension. So using supports, visual supports as needed would be beneficial. So as far as the data sheet, it looks like this. So you can see we have objective 1 over the top. There's a space for notes. And then there's 10 boxes that you can go across and do like the trials. Feel free to add any more. You can divide the box, anything you need. And then there's a little key at the bottom. VI stands for visual cue, VE stands for verbal cue, and G stands for gestural cue. Typically you'll be using visual and verbal cues the most. And then you can also just put P for prompt, and C for cue behind each of those. So what I'm thinking of for the allowed prompts and cues for visual, for that objective 1, you can show a picture of the object labeled with that letter, beginning orthographic letter down at the bottom, which may help her. For objective 2, the pronouns, you could show the pronoun cards. As for verbal, objective 1, the picture directions, you could say that item is blank and describe the attributes of the incorrect label that she provided. We need the blank. What can you tell me about the blank? So going through the semantic features, if she struggles with that as well. Number 2, the objective 2, the pronouns, you can say like the person's name. George is not a girl, or fill in the blank, are they? No, they're a boy, so what should you change? So giving her that prompt. Gestural, you can point to things, you can demonstrate the use of an object to be labeled, anything there you see there. So there's, on the last page of the lesson, there are 5 different sentences for objective 1. Just as an example, you may write down extra ones that are more applicable to the setting and what's around. Just make sure to choose the functional vocabulary, since that is really the focus of the lesson since she is in the life skills classroom. And if you have any questions, let me know.